Now, of course, we also mentioned that the North Viet, or not the North Vietnamese, but now, of course, we also mentioned that the Viet Cong retreated back into tunnels. So let's take a look at the tunnels used in Vietnam. The tunnels were a complete underworld. It was all there: kitchens, hospitals, workshops, sleeping areas, communications, ammunition, storage, and even some entertainment. Now let's look at life within these tunnels. The tunnels were a complete underworld. It was all there, such as kitchens, hospitals, workshops, sleeping areas, communications, ammunition, storage, and even some entertainment. The life was harsh, though. The spaces were cramped, and the air was of poor quality. It was moist, and there were lots of insects and rats. Above all, that living in a tunnel meant no sunlight at all, and operations were at night during the cover of dark. So one of the strategies to combat the use of these tunnels that Americans used were the use of tunnel rats. Now, these were small American soldiers, not literal rats, but small American soldiers who were small enough to easily crawl into the tunnels and to fight the Viet Cong. But oftentimes they faced tremendous danger because these tunnels were oftentimes booby-trapped as well. But ultimately, the tunnel rats played a valuable role in the war effort. Now, as we first begin to look really at the escalation of this war, one thing to understand is really the first major and last major land battle of the war, the Battle of the Ia Drang Valley. This is really, like I said, the first major engagement between the U.S. and the North Vietnamese. This happens in 1965. Once again, it was the largest and last major land battle. The Ia Drang Valley was referred to as the Valley of Death. Now, if you've seen the movie We Were Soldiers, that movie depicts that battle. In fact, the movie We Were Soldiers is based on the book We Were Soldiers, which was written partially by a journalist, Joe Galloway, who helped to, or who experienced this war as a war correspondent and then wrote of it, and also by the commander that oversaw operations. If you've seen the movie, Mel Gibson plays that commander. As a result of this, 247 Americans are killed and 1,500 North Vietnamese. Once again, as I mentioned, the lead role in the movie is played by Mel Gibson. He plays Lieutenant Colonel Hal Moore. And Hal Moore said, "I will leave no man behind, dead or alive, we will all come home together." So, you know, they fought that battle. The truth is that they discovered, after, you know, airlifting in some troops into this area, that there was a very large number of NVA, or North Vietnamese Army, just a short distance from where they were at. And the problem is that they couldn't get all of their troops in all at one time. So their first troops to hit the ground were isolated there for quite some time while they had to fly back to another location to bring more. And so it took really hours to bring in all the reinforcements, and they nearly were overrun. And eventually had to call out the code name Geronimo, which is one that means they're being run over. And eventually they had to call in napalm strikes. The battle, like I said, proved to be pretty horrific, but and I think it really kind of awakened Americans to the experience of what we were really expecting in the Vietnam War.